So congratulations once again. I'm thrilled for you. I mean, how are you feeling after a day? It's a big day. How are you feeling? How are you taking this all in?
Yeah, I mean, I still feel kind of the same. It's still sinking in a little bit, I think. Comes in stages, I suppose, but I'm excited about the mission. I'm excited about the opportunity. I love the people I'm flying with. I love the mission profile. I'm going to get to see the moon up front, or up close. I'm going to see the Earth from the perspective of the moon. It's a lot to take in, to think about. So I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm grateful. I'm humbled. There's a lot of that. Mostly it's pride, and like this is kind of what's motivating me. You know, right now sharing this is just I want to make sure Canadians feel that pride. They see themselves in this. Like, this isn't something that like a few people did. This is something we did as a country. You have to be united with a big vision to bring a country like Canada to the point where you're making such an incredible contribution, such a valuable contribution that you're asked to participate in a mission like this. And credit to NASA too, like I talked about yesterday, but that's great American leadership, making space for another country to contribute and come along. But kudos to Canada for having the guts and the courage and the innovation to get us to this point. I'm really proud.
Canadians don't really know a lot of what what we have contributed to the space program. Why do you think that is?
I couldn't really tell you why. I know a couple of traits that I see in myself and other Canadians. We are sort of a modest country. We do keep ourselves a little bit small sometimes, and so we don't celebrate our wins maybe as loudly as we could. And this is a big win. And like literally, the contributions we are making as a country in the space program in general, they're pretty big and they're significant. And they bring value. And so we're not done. That's what's important. Like to me, like Artemis II is historic, it's going to be amazing, and it's just another step. And where are we going next? And let's set some bigger goals. Eventually we'll have a Canadian eclipse this and walk on the moon, and then eventually we'll have a Canadian on Gateway and off to Mars, and we'll just keep going. But always focus, and I know you understand this stuff really well, but always focused on bringing the benefits back to Canada and to humanity on the surface. Everything we're doing has a strategic focus to make sure it brings benefit back. So space robotics, we've invested for decades in space robotics. We're a world leader in space robotics. Space robotics is being commercialized right in front of our eyes right now. It's becoming important for serving humans on the planet because we use space more and more. So we have to make sure that we enable that industry to have a strong foothold in Canada because that benefits us with more innovation, more jobs of the future. Food security, delivering remote healthcare. Both of these have significant overlaps with space exploration. We're going to need food if we want to live on the moon and go to Mars. We're going to need to deliver remote healthcare in a new way in space. We can solve that with our international partners in space, but use it on the planet. So these are areas of focus for us. We know there's huge benefits to come from bold, brave decisions and goals for Canada.
Absolutely. Now, you personally, you were recruited in 2009 with David Saint-Jacques, and you've had a lot of patience. How have there been any challenges for you over that time? But because I know you've still been busy, training, but did you ever go, come on, let's go?
Yeah, I'm human, of course. It always comes down to expectations, right? And so I think when I started the job, the expectation sort of was I would fly in 5 years, and then that wasn't possible. It wasn't going to happen. It wasn't an opportunity for me to fly in that time frame. And then it was, it just was always like a few more years away, always a few more years away. So you have to adjust your expectations, but it's all in your head. The other way to look at it is just like, wow, like, would I do anything else? Not a chance in the world. Like, I love what I'm doing. I'm working on an amazing team. I get these great challenging experiences. You and I have talked about many of them over the years. I lived in a cave. I lived on the ocean floor. I'm solving spacewalk problems with this team here on the ground, fixing the alpha magnetic spectrometer. I've had some incredible experiences. And at the end of it all, I've always known I was going to fly in space. There's never anything, is absolute. You could lose your medical or whatever, but I've always known the intent was that I would fly in space. That's pretty special. I'm never going to take that for granted.
That's awesome. I need somebody to
ever think you'd go to the moon?
Yeah, it's always been in my list of possibilities, but it was not a high probability.
So I'm going to read you a quote that you had in a 2014 CSA video. And you said, "For as long as I can remember, I was fascinated by space exploration. I looked at a photograph of Neil Armstrong standing on the moon, and I wanted to see what it'd be like to leave this planet, to look at it from beyond." I mean, have you really thought about that experience and what you might feel?
Yeah, I can imagine it. I see it in my head, like looking through the windows of the Orion capsule, through the moon, back of the Earth. And I can't wait to see it. I mean, I know it's going to touch my soul. I'm going to have like a tremendous perspective on this mission because I will have some time in Earth orbit. I will see the Earth up close, like from the kind of space station perspective. And then we will go into a higher Earth orbit, really high Earth orbit, like tens of thousands of kilometers looking back on the planet. And then we're going to leave. And the Earth's going to get small in the window and the moon's going to get big. And eventually, I just think that is like a pretty rich experience. In fact, the Prime Minister called last week to speak with my wife and I and just congratulate us on this mission. And he was remarking that only 24 humans have ever seen the full Earth, have ever gotten far enough away to see the entire marble hanging in space. And I'm going to have that opportunity to see it. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Have you had any personal challenges along the way? Because it's got to be hard on your family, right? Being away, well, you're here in Houston, you're based here in Houston, but you're busy training, going to the caves of Sardinia and, you know, off the Key West and Key Largo. And so have there been any personal challenges for you with your family?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one thing that I think is obvious to me, you know, everybody I talk to, the human existence, they're all the same. Doesn't matter if you're an astronaut or anything else. We all have those same challenges that you just have to work through in life. You know, I have an amazing family, really supportive family, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Like life is hard. The only thing you can be guaranteed of in life is you're going to face challenges, and it's just it's just your mindset on those challenges. You know, are you going to get in that mindset of this is your new forever, or are you like, no, this is just happening and I'm going to move on from it? And that's what I try to do. Sometimes I get stuck a little bit, but that's how I try to move through life and teach my children to move through life.
Have you thought about what it's going to be like training on Orion, because you have 18 months or ish to do it? Have you any idea what the timeline's going to be like for that, and how exciting it's going to be?
Yeah, it's we know that you know, in June is when we think that the sort of structured training will begin. We'll start right away with some things that, you know, some meetings we can start having and some discussions, and maybe meeting some of the experts where they've, you know, built the actual hardware, going to the Cape and looking at some of that. We'll probably get into that right away. We know there's a sort of structured training flow that starts in June for us, but the thing to keep in mind is no one's ever flown on this vehicle before. So we're actually testing everything, not just the vehicle, but also the training flow. Like, is this adequate? And if it's not, we have to go figure out what would make it adequate to ensure that the astronauts that come after us, we know what's expected to keep them on the timeline, because they actually have to do more. They have to land on the surface of the moon, right? So we're working through all that. That'll be part of our job. We won't do it alone. We do it with a huge team of people here.
And your fellow astronauts are really happy for you. I mean, I spoke with Joshua and Jenny yesterday, and they're thrilled. You know, you're setting the stage, going ahead. Do you think maybe, you know, one of them might end up walking on the moon?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point. So this is like one small step, and then let's eclipse it as quickly as we can, and let's go do something bigger. And you know, both. I mean, the other three astronauts in our Canadian Corps, you know, they're my friends. I have a lot of respect for them. They're extraordinary people. Any one of them could be on this mission. You know, really just primarily just my perspective. I think, you know, really just comes down to it's my turn to go is probably the biggest deciding factor. I don't make the decision, but that's kind of how I think it plays out. Josh and Jenny would do wonderfully in this role. And I look forward to getting them both to space, seeing what we can line them up for, and building the core of the future. We want to see more Canadians going to space. All 4 of us are excited about building a program that is robust enough that this core needs to grow. And we'll have young Canadians joining us in space.
What do you want to, you talk to kids all the time. You go to schools all the time to talk to them. What would you say to them today about the future?
I would say that we're challenged here on the planet. And I think it's not lost in our youth that there are big things happening, and they can be a little bit scary. And I would say we have many global problems, and they require global solutions. And so the most important thing is that we have to learn to work together. We have to bring human society together. We're showing you an example, a very visible example of how it's not necessarily easier to work together. It's actually harder to bring a collaboration together. But make that your challenge. And once you get over that hump of working together, then you can ultimately do more. And that's the example we're setting for them. And so it's the same methodology in their life. It's simple. I say this all the time. Set a goal. Know what you want, set a goal. Share it with other people. You will not do it alone. I can guarantee you won't succeed alone. You're going to have to be brave enough to share your goals with other people, and then those people will help you achieve them. And that is what we're doing in space. We're setting big goals so big we're bringing an international collaboration together to accomplish them.
And speaking of international collaboration, I mean, it's incredible. We have the International Space Station with international cooperation, but this pales in comparison to Artemis. The Artemis Accords, there are 23 countries signed on. Does that make you feel hopeful for the future of international collaboration and expanding outwards into the solar system?
It does, and there'll be challenges on all of this, but the point is that just to understand and have, I guess, to have a shared commitment that is important. That it's not important to go alone as a country on this planet. It is important to go forward as a global community on this planet. And to have that shared commitment, that is the most important part. We don't have to succeed all the time. We don't have to have it behind us. We just have to always be aiming for that. I hope that distinction makes sense. But we will fall down, and we are falling down. We are failing. We all fail in our lives. We fail on the planet. The point is not to get stuck on that. It's just to know where we're trying to get to and to say out loud, if we're not doing that, it's not good enough. Let's keep striving.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and congratulations once again.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Jeremy Hansen. I'm a mission specialist.